Culpeppers. And we're not licensed counselors. We're just a loving couple that like to give advice or open to giving advice to anyone that asks, especially about parenting.
That's right. We have 3 adorable and wonderfully talented children, and we know a little bit about them. And so from the experiences we have from those 3 Rugrats, we try to share as much as we can with other parents. Because as you know, a big part of living life is knowing that you're not alone. And so sometimes it just feels good to know other parents have some similar struggles as you.
And that's right. And today on this episode, we have 2 special guests in the studio, and I would like for them to introduce themselves so that I don't mess it up.
Hi, my name is Angela Marcellus. I'm a neighbor of the Culpeppers, and I am the proud mother of 2 boys. Joshua's going on 18, and Christopher is going on 15, and I'm also an educator.
All right. Thank you so much, Angela, for being on the show.
And I am Cherise McCall. I am the mother of 2 beautiful children, one who is 21 and the other who is 9. Don't ask. I am also an educator.
All right, Cherise, thank you so much for being on the show.
Glad to be here.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you remember that last awesome episode we had, their husbands were on the show. Those handsome men, they got families.
100%.
That's right.
We'll keep them for now.
All right. Thank you, ladies, so much. So, here's our first question. It says, how old is too old? I have a son who is almost 4 and still wants a diaper. In my day, that was too old. My wife seems to think it's okay and he will come around at his own time. I think it's time to smarten up and get him out of diapers and into some age-appropriate underwear. Am I wrong in thinking he's too old to have potty trouble? Or is my wife babying him? So this is the case of too old for diapers.
Okay, so I
we need a gavel.
Well, I think this is an age-old question, and there are probably varying answers.
Sure.
I do have 2 boys, so I've been through this, and they were different ages. But from what I remember, the appropriate age of boys is about 3 years old. Girls usually earlier, 2 years old. Boys around 3, but they can be up to 4 years old. So I do think that at this point, if he's already 4, it's time to start testing the waters and maybe put him in a pull-up, because you don't want to ignore it, and maybe not switch them all the way to underwear, but it's time to start trying to work on that.
Yeah, I agree, Angela, and my perspective is a little different because of the age difference between my children. And so when I had the older child, and then he was potty trained fairly early. So he was maybe 2 years old when I had him out of diapers, and then when I put him in daycare, his teacher said, you've potty trained him too early, and we're not going to be staying with that routine that you have, so he can be potty trained at home, but when he's here, we're changing diapers. And so we experienced a setback.
Oh, wow.
That's when I learned that there's a psychosocial development process that you could sort of adhere to. But I tell you, 12 years after he was born, when I had my daughter, I noticed when I went to the store that diapers were being made for larger, older children.
Oh.
And so I was like, why do they have, what is this 5T and 6T size diapers? And so I started to realize, like, are babies bigger? Or are children being potty trained later? And so I think it may be a combination of both, but I do agree with you, Angela, that it's time to start easing that child into that process.
And something you said made me think about, I bet you all don't have a little one at home, because my oldest Joshua, he was just shy of 3, and that's when my youngest Christopher was born. And my goal was to make sure Joshua was potty trained before Christopher came, before he was here.
Yeah.
So he was,
We are on the exact same page. So Christine and DJ, our oldest 2, are just 2 years apart, 2 years and 6 months. The minute I found out I was pregnant with Christine, I started potty training DJ like the second. Because in my mind, I just was thinking, like, I don't know that I can do 2 diapers. Like, I wasn't sure how that was going to work logistically. We already had a minivan, and when I was changing one, I just didn't know how that was going to work with two bottoms in the back of a minivan. And so I was the same way. I was very insistent with the older 2. But surprisingly enough, our youngest, who is 10 years from the oldest, 8 years from Christine, we went a little slower, but it really was our goal because she went to pre-K. And so part of my goal in going to pre-K when she was 3, was to have her potty trained at least 6 months before going to school. Because you don't want them to be at school and be socially awkward. You know, you don't want them to be the kid with diapers on at school when all the other kids are going to the bathroom. And you don't want them to just be freshly potty trained when starting school, because the potential for accidents and things is so real. And so I think we need to put it in terms of what's going to really allow the child to be independent and really function in a positive social setting. Either way.
I think I would have to add to that. That's probably what this man don't want for his son. If he's 4 and finna get ready to go to school, he ain't going to school no doubt. Because of the piece of it, you too old for that. It's kind of like breastfeeding at 10 years old. That's a little much for me.
I don't think we can do that.
Oh yeah. People do that. People do that. Breastfeed at 10 years old. You take a chunk out of you. But anyway. But at 4 years old, I'm kind of like him. That's too old. You running around, you playing, you speaking English, you playing on everything, you talk. I mean, you speaking well. You got good vocabulary at 4. If ain't nothing cognitive wrong, then you all be able to get out the diapers and go to the bathroom when you supposed to go to the bathroom.
And we need to think about something. What do 4-year-olds eat? Because when mine were 4, they ate the same thing
They ate the regular diet.
And let's be real.
They wasn't eating gerbil. Whatever.
So what's happening in that diaper is a little closer to what's happening. Yeah, it's a little closer to what should be happening in a
You might be doing yourself a favor.
Right.
That's
That's a good point.
That is a good point.
So working on that. So I would say, that to encourage him, maybe look at what you guys are doing to get him potty trained, with the potty stool, and helping the child learn when he gets that urge and when he needs to go to the potty. Because if that's not there, he's gonna keep on that to himself.
So in sum, it's probably about time.
It is.
Yeah, it's about time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and your wife had that conversation. It's time. Put him on. When we were little, they used to watch them.
Cloth
and put pins in.
Stop ageless now, Mr. Culpepper.
Well, now we should offer some encouragement. I do want to encourage you and let you know that regardless of how this goes, when your child is 18, they'll be potty trained.
Maybe.
They will be. Good point.
Yes.
All right. So we hope that too old for diapers? Well, maybe not.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, yeah, too old. Too old for diapers. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, let's transition to our next question. All right. So to name this question, is it time to throw in the soother, or pacifier as we call it? All right. So this is the question. It says, Mr. and Mrs. Culpepper, my name is Nina, and I am 25 years old with my first child. I have twins that are 3 and a half. One twin is a boy, and he does not use a soother anymore, but his sister wants a soother all the time and has a tantrum when we try to take it away. I am worried it can start to affect his teeth, and also she is old enough to not have one. The other day in the grocery store, an older woman made a comment how my daughter is too old to have a soother in her mouth. I was furious, but I want that soother gone. How do I get rid of it without starting World War III in my house? You might have to start World War III. This is what's that, baby? Tantrum in Niagara Falls. What y'all think? Time to throw in the soother or
What's
pacifier?
the age? What age?
They twins. They're 3 and a half.
3 and a half. It's very tricky. Okay, I have a confession to make, and I'm doing this here because it's safe.
Exclusive, folks. Right here. Right here.
So I was a thumb sucker. I sucked my thumb until I was 12. Yes, and I have perfect teeth.
You do have perfect teeth.
I have perfect teeth. I never had. Let me finish.
Oh, okay.
I never had braces or anything, but I was a thumb sucker till I was 12. Here's the tricky part. I'm gonna tell you what changed my mind. I progressively started to wean myself off of sucking my thumb. So like for me, when I was a little baby, I was lactose intolerant. It took my family forever to figure it out. So I was really miserable, probably for the first 3 years of my life. And so for me, thumb sucking really was a way to soothe myself because I was so sick. Because it took them forever to figure out what was wrong with me. I just cried all the time. They just thought I was a horrible baby, but that wasn't it. And so I really got in the habit of self-soothing through sucking my thumb. But as I got older and once I started school, it was kind of embarrassing. And so I transitioned to sucking my thumb just at night when I was in elementary school, which was really weird. But when I was 12, I went to a family reunion, and my family members made fun of me because they saw me suck my thumb.
I mean, at 12.
So then I stopped. So I'm going to not chime in on this question because I stopped at 12 and I'm just fine. And my teeth are perfect, so I don't know if I'm a good example.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned your teeth because your teeth are absolutely gorgeous.
They are
and that's
perfect.
what I was going to weigh in on.
They are perfect.
That's what I was going to mention is because there are reports, and I've read and in my own research that using a soother or pacifier too late can interrupt or interfere with the development of the teeth. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, maybe you're refuting that a little bit. I think my personal opinion is based on my experience. Both my children liked the soother, the pacifier, but we had a harder time with my daughter. We almost had to stage an intervention for her. We basically locked down for like a 3-day weekend, a holiday weekend, and we're like, this is the weekend that she is done. And she was 3 years old. No, she was 2. My son was 3. She was 2 years old, but she was like, we were wondering if there were a pacifier rehab that we could pay for.
That's hard.
And we really wanted to do it because she started to have repeated ear infections and throat issues, and so we kind of wanted to eliminate it for that reason. So when we talked to our pediatrician, it was recommended. So you might want to consult the pediatrician and see what they say.
So a long, hard weekend, it sounds like.
A very difficult weekend.
3-day weekend.
It's so difficult that we still have that pacifier, but don't tell her. Don't tell her.
That is so hard for me to keep a secret. I'll tell you right now, it's going to be very hard.
Out, yeah.
It's a memento of the battle we went through.
You should frame it and like put it in a shadow box.
Angela, what do you think?
Neither one of my boys took a pacifier, but my oldest did keep that sippy cup for a good long time till he was 3. So basically the same thing.
Yeah.
And so I had to research 2 or 3. I can't really remember 2 or 3, but I thought it was too old. And so I did research, and what I found worked. And so you might try this, and it was the sippy cup fairy. So you can do the pacifier fairy, passive fairy, soother fairy, and so you just tell him, just like the tooth fairy, there's some brand new babies that need that pacifier.
That's it.
Yeah. So we're gonna put it on the wind because you've outgrown it. We're gonna put it on your windowsill or your dresser tonight, and the soother fairy is gonna come, take that soother, leave you a present, and that will be it.
Kind of like the tooth fairy.
Like the tooth fairy.
But what was the present? But what was the present?
I don't even remember. I remember, but the sippy cup was gone.
It was gone.
And that's what worked. So it's worth a try. It's
for
worth a
the
try.
new baby.
For the new
somewhere.
Baby. Yeah.
I like that because my mother said that when she weaned me off, she told me a bad man came to ride him.
It's a burglar.
Trauma.
Try to go with the fairy. Let's go with the fairy.
The fairy's better.
Yeah.
The fairy
Now I got something to throw
We
in
love
there.
your mom.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
We're gonna go with the fairy.
Now I got something to throw in there on this one now.
Is this the male perspective?
Yeah,
We're gonna be
no.
enlightened.
This is the medical professional perspective.
Because you have
Oh,
medical
yeah,
training.
Yeah, I got constituents that.
And he has no actual medical training.
Oh yeah, I can put on band-aids. Now, but now, what if the child is scared, or is the reason why they need the soother, or
Right.
it comforts them, right?
Yeah.
So what about that perspective of it? Now, she never mentioned that there was any issues or anything, but don't some children do that out of fear or comfort?
Yeah,
They do.
Well, probably most of them do.
Yeah.
Most of them
so-
do, yeah. And so I think Cherise noted that kind of they're all at the same time, and it is a comfort, and that's probably why you did
Sure.
it. It's a comfort, and so all in good time for each kid.
Yeah.
And that's what Cherise recommended, talking with your pediatrician, which is
Right.
always
Yeah.
good advice.
Right.
But sometimes if you're really worried about this, sometimes you can substitute the thumb sucking with something else that will be comforting.
Yeah.
Now,
But self-soothing is a life skill.
Definitely.
So children do
100%.
need to learn how to soothe themselves in times of trouble, when they're
You
disturbed.
do it in the
or
womb.
anxiety.
And are we
Right.
still
So that's
trying
a
to
normal
soothe our-
reaction to want to soothe
comfort
yourself
and-
out of
Right.
fear, but you want to make
Anxiety.
sure that they're doing it in a way that's
That's right.
appropriate, age
That's right.
appropriate.
Okay, I see. Because I know DJ, he was off a pacifier after about 6 months, and that's when I started getting him chicken. So,
It's all not
fried
true.
chicken on top of that.
Which kind of ties back to the diaper conversation.
He had a
Anyway.
chicken bone, so he didn't need no Soother.
None
He
of
had
our children use
chicken
Soother.
bone.
They
so-
didn't use a Soother. Nobody gave him a chicken.
Yeah, he had. You didn't nobody, but I was flipping them chickens, so I told him, boy, you get some hair on your chest, boy. 6 months
6
old,
months.
boy.
Yes.
People
Put that
are
Soother
gonna
down.
think you want your head.
Yeah, so he turned out all right. So that might be recommended for chicken. No, I'm just kidding. But that was some good, very good advice coming from you.
I tell you what my grandmama used to tell me.
What's that?
Uh-oh.
If your baby has to take their pacifier out of their mouth to say a complete sentence,
Then it's time.
it's time to get away.
Oh yeah. Can I have? Yeah. I want some.
So what are we
cheese
doing for
today.
dinner tonight, Mom?
Oh wow.
Because it could be a habit.
habit.
Because it could be a habit, and that's the tricky part. And you know your own child. I tell parents all the time. That parent intuition is pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And on some levels, if you know that they're safe and you know that they're well fed and they're dry and they're not hurting physically, then sometimes it is a matter of teaching them to cope outside of that device. But follow your parent instinct too. I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Absolutely.
And one thing and to piggyback off of that, one thing I always tell my husband and my boys, at the end of the day, all I want is for you to be happy and healthy.
That's right.
Yes.
Happy and healthy.
That's right.
I think that's
Whatever
good.
that takes.
Well, ladies, check this out. I got one bonus question. I found you on Pinterest.
Oh.
And thought I would write in. My husband has a legacy name family. Yes, every firstborn male is named Nico.
Names.
I'm 5 months pregnant and it's a boy. I don't want to name him Nico. That's in capital. But this will hurt my in-laws terribly and my husband. They have 4 generations of Nicos, possibly more. But this is also my baby and I should have some say. What do you say about it? Lily Ann, how you pronounce that last name?
Sarnia.
Sarnia. Y'all give me, let's take some time. Give me some
generations.
Okay, I'm just going to say this because being in education, you see this a lot. This is my only thing. Yes, it's your child. When I was pregnant with DJ, whose first name is Derek, like Derek, but they have different middle names. Like we were going back and forth because he wanted to name him Derek D. Roy because that's his name.
That's my government name.
I
Don't
kind of
tell
felt
nobody.
like that was not the name. I wanted to name him Jeremiah. And so our compromise was we did the first name the same and then his middle name is different. So he's actually not Derek Jr., he's Derek Jeremiah. But this is my thing. This is what I'm going to say. If all the other cousins have this name and then your child is the only one who doesn't, like I worry that your child is going to feel left out, like when they get with the cousins. Like if your kid,
Why aren't I
no, if they're like, well, this is all the firstborners, Nico, I'm the non-Nico. Like I don't want him to be traumatized because he missed out on that. And so I think I would look at it from that standpoint. Absolutely, you can feel what you want to feel, and I know you want to own it. However, I would be interested to see how he would feel being left out if he was a non-Nico.
On the flip side,
I love the flip side.
he may be glad that he's the only one not named like the cousins. It just depends on the child. You might consider doing that name as a middle name. And that way, when the child gets older, they can consider going by that name if they want to. Both my children have names from other relatives. My son has my brother's middle name, and then my daughter has my mother's first name as a middle name. So we believe in carrying on those family traditions, but they have the option to go by whatever name they want as they get older. And as a matter of fact, my son started going by a shortened name when he got older, but it's his choice.
Right.
So I think maybe you might have a different perspective on tradition as the child gets older and you're around family. And I think maybe it's a safe bet to do it as a middle name. That way there's choice later.
Yeah, at the very least, I would say yeah.
And I was going to say something similar to that. Marriage is difficult, and didn't y'all talk about this before? I'm but it is difficult. So what I would say is the safe thing would be, the most respectful thing to be to your husband and to his family, is work it in somehow.
Yeah.
Could be a first name, and you can call him whatever you want to as his mom. Could be a middle name or, third name, but I would say work in Nico some kind of way.
I would
I
say
actually
yeah.
think Nico's kind of cool.
That is kind of cute. I think that's a cute
I
name.
like Nico.
Well, now.
Wait a minute.
Here we go.
Here's another story.
Now, I think it depends. I don't know much about no legacy name and all that. I don't know nothing about that. But however,
However,
depends on where she's from, but this could be a real big issue here. This could be
culturally
separating issue if you don't name this son Nico. You know, what part of the country? Where are you from? You know, could take that into consideration. You know, but I can imagine this would be a huge fight.
Well, it could be, but again, I think
You know,
It could be.
But if it was
Ultimately,
understood
yes,
Sounds like
before
it
you
is
got
a big
married,
issue.
it
you
does
know,
sound like
yeah,
it's a
because
big
she said
issue.
she gonna hurt some folks with this here. So
Yeah.
according to her, but
Because
this could
we
be a
want
mess.
Nico or Michael, whatever his name ends up being, we want him born into a happy house.
Yeah,
Agreeable peace.
No strife when the birth certificate.
That's
comes.
right. So,
And I
whatever
have a question.
situation.
What if you have a second son?
Oh, that's true.
Well,
Yeah,
she did. Well, she wait a minute. Did she
It's
mention
the
her?
first.
Oh, that's
That's on
right.
the-
I think
the
she
first.
mentioned firstborn.
It's firstborn.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
All
okay.
right. Well,
Yeah.
you don't got to worry about one time then.
You know.
There you go.
Right.
So, you know that. I guess name him. Put Nico in there
Work it
somewhere.
in. Work
Don't
it
worry,
in.
put it in there.
We say we're pro Nico.
Pro Nico.
Somewhere.
Yeah, pro Nico. I'm gonna save you some time there. Pro Nico. Go pro Nico.
I feel
Yeah.
like that's a shirt.
Good
luck.
I know that's right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for taking time to watch this episode, and please give our guests a round of applause. Yeah. And so if you would just be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out our other episodes of Ask the Culpeppers. And also be sure to check out the Baby Spot CA Digital Global Parenting Magazine that has all of the resources that you need to help you in your parenting journey. All right? So until next time, we will see you later. Bye-bye.